Nice shirt.
Thank you, Dad. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you look good in yellow.
I like the yellow. Feels very beachy, very summery.
Yeah, I think I look good in black because, well, it's very slimming.
Yes.
Yes.
Very slimming.
Yeah.
Not slimming enough, but very slimming.
Watch yourself.
All right. So, title of today's video,
Yes.
we're going to do something a little bit different than what we usually do. We're going to focus on a specific kind of price range that a lot of shoppers have and try and give some recommendations and advice as to how you can approach the car buying process if you're in this budgeted area of I want to spend less than $10,000 on a car.
Yeah.
And immediately what I think of, Dad, is $10,000 or less, we're looking at used vehicles. I don't think there's a single new vehicle on the road in the United States that you can purchase at that price point. And so with used vehicles and under
Yeah.
$10,000, there's probably a lot of things to be looking out for. And I'm sure you dealt with people in your career that were buying vehicles around these price points, and you can give some advice as to how they can approach going through the process.
It's a very important price point for most dealers. But
Really?
yes, because it's a price point that won't stay on the lot very long.
Oh, like these are very quick turn vehicles.
Yes. But I'm reminded when you ask me, well, how do you buy a car for under $10,000? I'm reminded of a line from Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner in the 2013-Year-Old Man. Very, very carefully. Okay, you got to be careful when you're looking at cars for $10,000 or less.
Wasn't the first car that I bought, and by I mean you bought on my behalf, the Mazda? It was like what, like $12,000, $13,000, something like that.
Well, the first car that I bought on the behalf of you and your sister was an older Maxima that I had traded at Acura North Scottsdale.
And that must have cost what, a couple $1,000?
Now that one was, I think we traded it for $5,500 and I bought it for $6,000. But it was a low mileage Maxima in excellent condition, but I found myself in a position where I could take advantage of that, and most people can't.
No, and I guess I'm just trying to paint the picture that like you have experience.
Yes.
Both selling under $10,000 cars and of course buying under $10,000 cars.
But under $10,000 cars, those are cars that go quickly, especially the nice ones. So how do you find them? The first thing I would suggest to you is you make friends, and I know this is going to sound hard, make friends with the last guy that you bought a car from at a dealership. And what I mean by that is let them know that you have a daughter or a son that they're going to turn 16 in a year or two. If you happen to trade something really, really nice, a little older but low miles in good condition that you guys would be selling for $10,000 or less, please give me a call. I would be interested. Okay? And then you check in with that guy or gal every couple weeks or every month to remind them that you're still on the market for something like that, and please keep your eyes open, because they know when they get a nice trade-in like that it might be a trade that they normally wouldn't keep for the lot, but because it's in good condition and they know they could turn it at $99.99, somebody would be interested in it. So that's the first thing I would do, is I would make friends with a car salesman at a dealership, a big, busy dealership where they could trade something like that.
Okay.
Once you find one, if you find one, and they're hard to find, and they don't stick around very long on dealerships' lots, but make sure you get a pre-purchase inspection done. I know that the dealership is going to inspect the vehicle, and their top mechanic's going to go, I can't believe how nice this car is.
Sure.
It's still older. It might be low miles, but it's still older, and there's things that could go wrong. And in the top mechanic's excitement, he might have missed something. So get a pre-purchase inspection done, okay? And then you really need to keep your eyes open using the internet. I guess that's about the only place you can shop for used cars these days. Use the internet and keep your eyes open looking for cars under $10,000, whether it be a private seller or a dealership. If you have a friend or a relative or a friend of a relative or a friend of a friend who has an older car that's in good shape and they're looking to maybe trade it in, intercede and see if perhaps you can buy it from them for whatever the dealership. Like if the dealership says we'll give you $7,500, you tell them I'll give you $8,000,
Sure.
and see if you can find a car that way. So that's how you buy a car under $10,000.
And are there any like particular red flags that you should be looking out for? Like when you bought that Maxima back in the day,
Yeah.
was there anything in particular that you were looking out for? Or, I mean, I imagine you got. Well, maybe you
Well, I
didn't.
appraised it.
Yeah, yeah. So you like, and we have a video. We'll link it right there. You appraised my Volvo S90, and so
Yes.
you kind of you've shown us the process that you go through to appraise.
Yeah.
So it makes sense if you appraised it, you would have kind of had a sense, except for mechanically.
Yes, I had a sense looking at it, at the condition it was in, looking at the tires, looking at the paintwork, looking at the interior, driving the car. Everything seemed to be okay. What I didn't have the ability to really understand was mechanically, was it sound? And at that point I asked, after I appraised it and we traded it, I asked our mechanic, one of our top mechanics, to take a look at it and verify what I thought it was.
And so to your point, you get the PPI done.
Oh yeah. You know, hell, I'm in the car business, and I realistically had a pre-purchase inspection done.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess one other question I have is, to the same thing with the kind of like red flags. Like at the under $10,000 price point, it might not necessarily be the most cosmetically appealing car, but that doesn't necessarily
Might
mean
not necessarily have the cleanest Carfax either,
That
but
was-
it could still be in good shape.
That's kind of like I'm wondering about like service records and you know, if it has a dent or a ding, like are those shouldn't necessarily be huge turnoffs at this price
No,
point.
I mean at under $10,000, let's say it's a 2010 automobile, and let's say in 2012, according to Carfax, it was in an accident.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was repaired, and that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And the accident was when the car had 23,000 miles, and it now has 83,000 miles. I don't know. That gives me a sense of comfort knowing that somebody put another 60,000 miles on the car over the last 8 years. So there's probably not any real issues from that accident. So those are things that you can look. You have to look at when the accident was. Now, if it's an under $10,000 car and it's a 2010 and the accident was 6 months ago, that might raise a different red flag.
Yeah.
But if the accident was 8 years ago, I don't think I would be as concerned with it. Now, obviously, it could impact the paint and the clear coat on the paint, but you know, a $10,000 car is not going to look like a brand new car.
And I guess that's one of the key points to take away is that at this price point, there are potentially concessions you'll have to make.
Absolutely.
But it's a function of getting a vehicle that's going to move you from point A to point B,
Yeah.
and at a very, attractive, to your point, dealerships move these and turn these very quickly, an attractive price point.
Yes, absolutely, and really, what you're buying is a selling price. You're not necessarily buying a car.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
That's a great way to think of it.
And what I would recommend is when you're looking at under $10,000 cars, the Japanese cars tend to be the best type of under $10,000 cars to look for because they tend to last for a very, very long time and they're relatively inexpensive to maintain.
That's a good point.
Most of them, whether it be a Toyota or a Honda or a Nissan or a Mazda, they're pretty much bulletproof as long as you're taking care of the maintenance.
That's a really good point, because that's probably a concern if you're at this price point, is understanding, okay, what's my maintenance cost, what's my
Yeah.
cost of ownership,
Exactly.
insurance, fuel,
Yes.
etc. So that's
Yes.
a good takeaway.
So those are my pointers, and beyond that, I got nothing else for you.
We have another video that recently came out talking about like being in a challenged credit situation. So if you haven't watched that, link it up here as well. Pair that with this.
Over
you should nicely
Up
done.
above your head, yeah, okay.
You should have a pretty good, kind of game plan walking into this process if you're in challenged credit position and if you're at this $10,000 or so price
Yeah.
point.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, Zach.